They said some places are best left forgotten, buried under the weight of time and the slow, creeping rot of isolation. Blackwood Manor stood like a silent sentinel on the cliff's edge, its jagged silhouette cutting through the dying purple light of the sun. Elias had spent his life chasing legends, but the air here felt different. It was heavy, vibrating with a frequency of pure dread. His footsteps on the gravel sounded like bone grinding against stone, echoing much further than they should in the damp evening air. The massive oak doors loomed ahead, iron-bound and scarred by a century of storms. Within lay the answers he so desperately sought. His hand trembled as he pulled the rusted iron key from his pocket, the metal biting into his skin with a familiar chill. With a scream of protesting hinges, the door swung open, exhaling a breath of stagnant air that tasted of copper and old dust. The foyer was a cavern of lost opulence. Dust motes danced in his flashlight beam like tiny, frantic ghosts trapped in the dark. He moved deeper into the house, the silence so absolute it felt like a physical pressure against his eardrums. Cracked mirrors lined the walls, their silvering long since rotted away, offering distorted reflections that seemed to linger a second too long. The shadows here weren't merely an absence of light. They were thick, oily, and seemed to move independently of his torch. Every floorboard groaned beneath his weight, a chorus of wooden screams that signaled his intrusion into a place that wanted him gone. He reached the base of the grand staircase, where the darkness seemed to pool like spilled ink, cold and unyielding. Suddenly, a thunderous bang erupted from the upper floor. The sound vibrating through the very marrow of his bones, the air turned freezing, his breath appearing in short. Frantic plumes of white mist. Something was awake, something ancient. He began to climb, one step, two. Each one felt like a betrayal of his own survival instinct. A sudden slam echoed below. The front door had closed. He was locked in with the silence and whatever else lived here, in the reflection of a hallway. Mirror, a shape flickered. It was tall, impossibly thin, standing directly behind him. He spun around, but there was nothing. Only the smell of ozone and the feeling of cold fingers brushing against the back of his neck. The master bedroom lay at the end of the hall. The door was slightly ajar, a sickly, rhythmic light pulsing from within. He pushed it open. On the floor, a ritual circle of charred bone and ancient symbols burned with a cold, spectral fire. The shadows in the corners began to coalesce, rising upward like ink dropped in water, forming a figure that defied logic. The entity leaned forward, its hollow white eyes locking onto his. It didn't speak, but its presence was a scream in his mind. Panic surged. Elias turned and bolted, his lungs burning as he raced back toward the shifting, groaning corridors. The house began to convulse. Plaster rained down like snow, and the very foundations shrieked as if the manor itself were dying. He reached the foyer, the front doors bursting open as if kicked by an invisible giant. He threw himself into the night. He collapsed onto the wet grass, gasping for air, as the deafening roar of the manor's collapse suddenly faded into a chilling silence. The manor stood silent once more, a grave for secrets that should have never been disturbed. But Elias knew he wasn't alone.